Ike here. Today I'm working on page 5 of First Sun and Sword. So as I've been looking at what my schedule really can be, like what can I really consistently accomplish, and what is success, or what does success look like? And for me, there's that question of what does getting better every day look like? It's not just like the end goal, but what does it look like to get better every day? And right now, I think it's 1 page a week. So there's a certain percentage of time I need to be spending in my sketchbook and in writing and in clever kaiju, just with community and sharing and art challenges and stuff we do on our Discord. And then like some freelance work that I'm doing. And I keep that very limited because I don't want to put too much time into that. So on this page, I sat down and penciled this out pretty quickly off of a very small thumbnail. Here I'm putting in some perspective lines to remind myself what the layout needs to be, because I have a foreground, middle, and background figure. So I have her launching an arrow, Farah's launching an arrow, and Sword is charging at the giant insect, giant beetle. I don't know. I can't remember at the moment what I was calling these things. Pencils are pretty loose, and I'm trying to remember to keep pretty dynamic angles and poses. And even if they're a little more, incorrect, I would rather have it be more dynamic than correct. I wanted to show a little bit of penciling in real time, so that's what we were just watching there. So you kind of see like how I move, how it looks when I'm penciling in real time. So now we're speeding it up because I don't want this to be like an hour or 2 hour video or whatever. I should add up how long it really took me to do the whole page. I'm not sure, but it feels like it's going pretty quickly, like maybe 2 hours. To pencil and ink, which is like great if I can keep that up. These pages are pretty simple because there's not a lot of backgrounds and a whole lot of figures or anything, so that helps too. So yeah, we will see if I can maintain that, 2 to 3 hours per page maybe would be my guess. I did it over 2 days. I penciled one day and then inked on the next day because that's all the time I had to apply to it. Here I'm trying to figure out this mouth. I need to show that an arrow entered the mouth and upset the bug, which it was kind of hard because I wanted to get a close-up of the mouth, but not too close. But I would have to get pretty close for the arrow to be clear because it's so small in comparison to the bug. Sometimes I scribble in those black spaces just to make sure I'm happy with where I'm throwing the shadows, but sometimes I don't need to do as much of that. Okay. Yeah, this was another, challenging sort of dynamic angle. The camera's sort of underneath him, and his, the perspective angle and the perspective on his body follows the angle of the sword going up into the bug's under jaw. So that is, that's a pretty dynamic pose that I just kind of threw together on the page. The thumbnail wasn't nearly clear enough to know how to pull this off, but trying to take risks and throw things together on the page in a quick fashion. I'm finding the shadows on this figure now with these scribbles here. Interesting, situation with shadows. So technically he's entirely in the shadow of the bug. So the light source would have been above him or like in front of him. But now he's only lit by like secondary light sources, mostly, I guess, the sand and the bug with the underside of the bug, the light that's refracted onto that and kind of bounced off of that. So there's not a clear light source at this point for him. And so for the shadows, again, as I'd mentioned this a bit in the last video, trying to define the shape of things, give it form, three-dimensionality, with the shadows, and just understanding, okay, he's kind of lit from multiple places here. It's maybe even a softer light, you could say. And playing with scale was a challenge. It's like, exactly how big is this bug compared to him? How do I show him and the bug moving dynamically around each other without just making him super small on the page, when I want to kind of get a medium shot of him. But yeah, it was working out, and I'm gaining confidence for when I get to the next scene, and he is, they're all in Crocodile City, which is going to kind of be Venice-inspired, with like crocodiles in the waterways there. Okay. So notice I'm jumping between panels. That's something I'm trying to train myself to do, is like just kind of get the basic idea down, and once I feel like I got it, walk away, like move to a different spot on the page and build that, and then come back. Just it helps me stay loose and not and get a little time away from things before I refine them some more. That's something I didn't used to do as much, but it's really working out so far. This being the fifth page this time around. When I look at like the last comics I did, they were a couple sci-fi comics, Link Invalid and We Are Inside a Worm, and both of them were a little looser. They're both slightly different style, but they're both a little looser than this one, with the forms of things. I think something that helped with that is I've been doing some freelance work on character designs for animation, and they need to be really specific. The forms have to be, clear. Every time the head turns, the eyes have to be in the same spot and everything. And I think that precision that was kind of forced on me with that project has affected me, like had me becoming more precise in my character designs this time. Not that it's incredibly precise, but it is more so than it probably was in the last comic or two. Yeah, even here when I'm inking this bug, I'm moving around. I'm not just tracing it, starting at the top left and moving to the bottom right. I'm moving around the image so that I have a chance to look at it and see what feels empty, what feels not quite clear enough. That is a useful thing that I would encourage people to do. Okay. So I don't know how long this part is where they're battling this bug, but I think we have 8 pages maybe. So I maybe have only like 3 more before I mean, don't quote me on that, but maybe 3 more before we get into Crocodile City, and I'm going to have to be doing buildings and a lot of perspective and a lot of figures. A different sort of challenge. And I have been preparing for that in my sketchbook. I've been sharing some of those photos on Instagram. But I have a sketchbook dedicated just to this comic, and I do, from imagination and from reference, lots of buildings and figures and stuff so that I can get a good solid foundation of what this world looks like. And that way when I approach a page, I mean, the goal is when I approach one of these pages that has buildings in the background, that I can, just like with this page and like this scene, I can go with a loose thumbnail and get straight to drawing on the page from imagination, throwing buildings in there and streets and all the details, just from what I've collected in my, memory, from things I've been drawing in the sketchbook. So we'll see how that goes. I mean, I'm going to show it on a video just like this. So we'll see how I do. May require a lot more erasing and figuring things out than these pages have, but I'm gonna go for it when we get to that point. You might hear a cat in the background. They just they really want in the room. Oh well. So no, I feel pretty good about how things are going right now. I'll just mention, as this video is getting close to the end, things are going pretty well. I've got I'm juggling a few projects and trying to stay positive and face each day's challenges, and keep moving forward. And it seems like things are going the right direction. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, I mean, that's something I notice with this comic, is just how much black space I will fill in on a panel. I'm tempted to not really color this comic. Maybe someday it can be colored, if it's necessary for printing or publishing or something, whatever purpose it might serve in the future. But for now, I'm thinking about just going black and white, which is also why I'm making sure to throw in a lot of black. But I'm liking how it's looking, trying to keep simple shapes on the page, and a lot of solid areas and not a lot of texture or extra, details. Like her ear in the top left is pretty large on the page, but I don't have any details in her ear because it's just not necessary, really. Kind of keeping things out of focus in that sense. Okay. Yeah, so here I am just touching up with the whiteout. Any spots that I could clean up a little bit, clarify. Sometimes my ink lines overlap slightly in certain spots, and I just clean that up. And here it is, the final images. I'm pretty happy with them. They're not perfect, but that's not the goal. Catch you guys next time.